Look, I've never really understood Samsung's fan edition branding. To me, fans are the people who are first in line, first to read all the related news and rumors, and most importantly, first to check out the latest products from their favorite device makers. So when Samsung announced the $700 Galaxy S21 Fan Edition, almost a full year after the S21 came out, it felt way overdue. What we're looking at here is less of a phone for die-hard enthusiasts and more of a remix, featuring some of the S21's best traits for a lower price. Look, the S21 FE might technically be a new phone, but let's not pretend we haven't seen it before. It's essentially got the same shape and design cues as previous S21s, just with a slightly different size. Featuring a 6.4-inch screen, the S21 FE lands squarely between the 6.2-inch S21 and 6.7-inch S21 Plus. Around back, the S21 FE still features Samsung's contour cut design, but instead of having a camera bump with a metal shroud, the phone's back is made out of a single piece of plastic. Samsung calls it Glassic because it's plastic that kind of feels like glass. Get it? Anyways, instead of a two-toned color scheme, the S21 FE is monotone throughout, with the phone available in graphite, blue, lavender, bronze, white, and red. Elsewhere, Samsung kept things pretty simple. There's a centrally located selfie cam in front, a power button and volume rocker on the right, and a USB-C port on bottom for data and charging. There's a speaker grill down below that works with the phone's earpiece to provide stereo audio, which sounds alright even if it's a little light on bass for my taste. Samsung makes the best phone displays in the industry, and even though the screen on the S21 FE isn't quite as big or high-res as the S21 Ultra, there's not much to complain about. You get good brightness that tops out at over 700 nits, a 120Hz refresh rate, and a 240 by 1080 resolution that's basically the same as what you get on the S21 Plus. In front, the S21 FE's display is protected by Gorilla Glass Victus. It also houses a handy fingerprint sensor beneath its screen, and while the S21 FE's in-screen fingerprint sensor isn't quite as sophisticated as the ultrasonic sensors Samsung used in the original S21 models, in my experience, it's pretty fast and dependable. While Samsung and carriers continue rolling out the latest version of Android to older devices, the S21 FE comes with One UI 4.0, which is based on Android 12. Now visually, this doesn't have a huge impact on the phone's overall UI and layout, though the extra personalization options do make it easier to customize your home and lock screens. And because Samsung's spin on Android has long included support for features like scrolling screenshots, the most important upgrade in One UI 4.0 is the new privacy dashboard. So along with new notifications that call attention to when apps are accessing people's mics or cameras, the privacy dashboard provides a simple and easily accessible way of managing things like permissions, data, tracking settings, and more. And in a time when digital privacy remains a constant concern, more control over your data is definitely a good thing. The S21 FE's cameras are another area where Samsung's spec shuffle really comes into effect. The phone has a similar wide, ultra-wide, and telephoto camera setup in back, but with a lower res 8 megapixel sensor compared to the 64 megapixel sensor you get on its predecessors. So you still get a 3x optical zoom, but from a camera that produces pictures that aren't quite as sharp or as detailed as the standard S21. The wide and ultra-wide cameras take great photos, though the FE still lacks behind the Pixel 6. For example, in a shot of some toys taken outside, the Pixel 6 preserved highlights on the toy's face, while keeping the toy sitting in the shade from looking too underexposed. In contrast, the S21 FE blew out that cute little face and eyes without providing much in the way of extra sharpness. Google's Night Sight also consistently outperformed Samsung's night mode for low light shots, even though the S21 FE often wasn't far behind. Look, don't get me wrong, the S21 FE's cameras aren't bad, they're just not as good as the Pixel 6. And let's not forget the Pixel 6 only has 2 rear cameras, lacking any sort of dedicated telephoto option like you get from Samsung. On the flip side, Samsung actually increased the resolution of the S21 FE's front cam to 32 megapixels, up from 10 on the S21, which is kind of nice if you like taking a lot of selfies or videos for social media. But at the same time, I don't really think this is one option that really changes the overall impact of the device, leaving it feel more like a nice bonus and less of a, notable achievement. At this point, the Snapdragon 888 chip inside the FE is a pretty well-known quantity. It delivers speedy performance and helps support features like 4K video capture across all of the phone's cameras. However, because the base S21 FE only comes with 6 gigs of RAM as opposed to 8 on the normal S21, I noticed I felt the FE felt a little slower at times, especially when processing night mode photos. Granted, it is a pretty minute difference, and you might not even notice unless you use the phones side by side. But for people who do a lot of memory-intensive tasks like gaming or video editing, the FE's lower base RAM is probably the biggest reason to pay $70 to upgrade to the 8GB model, or just get a regular S21. Another bonus of the FE's larger body is that it provides more room for a bigger battery. So instead of a 4,000 mAh cell like you get in the S21, the FE gets a 4,500 mAh power pack, which provides a noticeable improvement in longevity. On our battery tests, the FE lasted 16 hours and 55 minutes, or a little more than an hour and a half longer than the S21's time of 15 hours and 17 minutes. And in the real world, the FE's battery life often feels way more prodigious than that, as I often finish the day with upwards of 40% battery still left in the tank. It's also worth noting, like the standard model, the FE doesn't come with a power adapter in the box. So if you want to take advantage of the phone's 25-watt wire charging, you'll probably have to shell out for a separate charging brick. Yeah, it's annoying, but like Apple, Google, and others, Samsung says not including a power adapter with the phones should help cut on e-waste, which is a good thing. With the supply of standard S21 models starting to dry up, the FE isn't really competing against the originals. It's a replacement that's sadly way past being fashionably late. It's a solid phone, but the Pixel 6 shoots better photos, has a more attractive design, and if you get the unlocked model directly from Google, it costs $100 less too. The Pixel 6 is simply the better buy unless you really care about millimeter wave 5G, which the unlocked Pixel 6 doesn't support, or having access to a telephoto camera. The S21 FE is so late, Samsung is already planning on showing off its next big flagship in just a couple of weeks. So even if you're a huge fan of Samsung's latest FE handset, at the very least, you should wait to see what the S22 has to offer before purchasing what is essentially a year-old phone. Plus, the arrival of a brand new Galaxy S phone often means discounts are coming to older devices. Oh, and if Samsung wants to keep this whole fan edition thing going, what I'd really like to see is a device that better lives up to the branding. Instead of a repackaged year-old phone, why not make a premium remixed version sporting a micro SD card slot and a headphone jack? Not only would this be a welcome alternative to a lot of today's flagships with minimal ports, it'd also be a considerate nod to old school Galaxy phone fans who may have felt betrayed when Samsung removed these features back on the S20. Now that's the kind of customer appreciation I can get behind. Alright, but that's just me. Tell me what you want to see from Samsung's next Fan Edition phone. Leave us a comment down below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos with reviews and hands-ons from Samsung's Unpacked event.